Hi, I'm Parita from Pin Up Parita, and today I'm going to show you what goes into making a hair tie. So this isn't a sewing tutorial. I may do some of those in the future, but this isn't that. So it just goes to show how much work goes into some of the products that I make. I get asked how long things take me to make, especially if people see me at my craft fairs with all of my products out and they tend to say you've done all this, and yeah, they do take some time, but I'm also going to time it as well, so because I don't actually know how long it takes to make some of these things. So today I'm going to be making Golden Perfect, which is the Wonder Woman hair tie. This if you want to watch my story about how Pin Up Parita started, a little bit about me, there'll be a link in the comments about that. So yeah, it's the one that started off this business for me, really, and the whole idea of Pin Up Parita. So it is the Wonder Woman hair tie. I'm gonna show you the stages that I go through. I don't really have a production line, but I tend to do things in batches rather than just making one at a time, because that just makes more sense to me. So I'm going to take you on this journey. I hope you enjoy it. Another thing I'm going to pay attention to during this video is just how much time, effort and cost goes into each product. I often get asked about why my products are so expensive, and in truth I make a loss on every single item I sell when you consider my time as well. So there'll be a little kind of, I guess, calculator going on in one of the corners. We'll decide which one when I put it on, about cost of how much things are, and we'll break it down as to how I decide my price points. So the first thing I'm going to need in order to make any product is beautiful fabric. So I'm wearing Golden Perfect at the moment. It's the one that sells out the most often, other than a certain scarred wizard bunting of the Snake House persuasion, which makes me really concerned, but I'm also that house by choice. So yeah, as all the things go, this is the one that tends to sell out a lot, and I can only really restock and remake when I can get hold of certain fabrics, and there's always that danger that fabrics are going to stop being produced. This one is slightly a little different. So this is the logo fabric, and that is slightly different to the one that I'm wearing, as in the logo is black outlined on the one I'm wearing, but this is the closest I could get. So that is one side. And then we have the Wonder Woman posers. So that is the other fabric that I have. There'll be, I'm sure, in the corner how much these cost per meter, just to give you an idea of how much difference there is with licensed fabrics and non-licensed fabrics. Licensed fabrics tend to cost around 25%, maybe more, than standard plain fabrics. So it's just worth keeping that in mind if you're going to buy a licensed product, or should I say a product made with a licensed fabric. There is a big difference. That is always going to cost more, purely because of the extra costs in the raw materials. So stage one. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut both fabrics to the lengths that I need them. What we'll do is a little bit of a Benny Hill speed up version with this, probably not with the music because that's a bit rubbish. I'll see what music I can find to put over it that's in the public domain, of course. So yeah, feel free to watch me measure twice, cut once. Big tip. So here we go. So I'm going to use a rotary cutter. I love rotary cutters. They just make cutting a lot of fabric really easy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the bottom so that when I make the cut, the rest of the fabric doesn't fall away. I've got a couple of little weights there just to keep the fabric in place, and I kind of start from there. I've got my cutting mat, which is great for not having to measure. I'm not the greatest at measuring. I'm also not the greatest at getting patterns the right way around, which I have this time, so I'm quite pleased with that. So next I match up the different pieces, one of each. I love doing reversible hair ties. I just think it gives you more options to wear it in different ways. It just makes it more interesting for me to sew, and it's what I like, so I do it. And what I'm doing is I'm just piecing pieces together so I can get the ends matching up. Another reason that I do this, I have been known in the past to cut the folded end by mistake, not watching what I'm doing. So this just ensures as well, because I always put a clip on the folded end, just ensures that if I'm tired and doing one of my late night sews at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, something like that, I don't make a mistake. So nothing worse than when you've got your fabric all nicely cut and you realise you've cut it wrong and it is useless after that. So yeah, I just make sure. I know things look creased and crinkled at the moment, but don't worry, we'll get onto that. So yeah, just piecing them together for this part. So the reason I've spent time piecing these together is I'm going to cut them on a slant so that we've got a nice tapered edge at the end. And one of the reasons that I do this with them clipped together is because then they tend to match when you do them inside out. So I'm going to pop this on. I already have the positions that I want marked out on the board. Again, just makes it easier. Anything you can do to make your life easier when doing these things, I suggest you do it. It just helps you get through it a little bit easier. Sometimes my rotary cutter does have problems going through a number of fabrics, so may need to change the blades. Always keep sharp blades, but there we go. So you can see there's a nice tapered end there. Of course, the second I turned the camera off, the rotary cutter went through it first time, no problems. So let's see if it's cursed by the camera. No, there you go. Okay, so here comes one of my least favourite jobs, which is clipping the material together. So when I cut it, I clip them so that we could cut the ends really nicely and neatly. And if I remove those two clips, what I can do is I can open out the two inner fabrics, and if I pull it out like that, you get the pattern design, so the right sides facing inwards and you're left with both wrong sides out, and that's really important for later on. So I use sewing clips. I prefer them, they're easy to sew with, they don't damage the fabric, and I'm just going to go around clipping where I know I need to clip for when I'm sewing. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to mark either side of the middle, the crease, just with a pencil that will show up on the dark fabric, and this is my no sew zone. Okay, so my machine is ready to go. It's been oiled, had a needle change, been dusted, all those things you need to do to keep it running smoothly. I'm using a white cotton, I have a Lowe's, and this is on the inside, so we're not going to see it, so it's white cotton's fine. So I'm going to pop this on the machine. You remember earlier I mentioned about a no sew zone, so I'm going to put the one closest to me under the machine like so. I'm going to pop that down, and what I'm also going to do is to put the needle in a down position. So there we go, it's in that down position, and that will make sense very, very shortly. So I'm going to do a few back stitches. Reason we do back stitches is it stops it all from coming undone, and I am going to sew. As I come to the end here, let's do another stitch, another couple. The needle being in the down position means I can lift the foot and twist it without the fabric losing its place, the needle losing its place within the fabric. So I pop that down and do a couple more stitches. Again, lift it up, turn it round, line it up. And stop again as we get to the top. You can see why I use sewing clips. It's just so much easier than having to stop and remove pins. You can just keep going, especially when you're doing straight lines. So so next job is to trim the seams, which I'm sure you can imagine what that looks like, so I'm not going to bore you with a video of that. And that just helps as well, keeping things nice and neat, getting rid of any rough edges and things like that. So after that, what we do is we bag out. Now you might have heard this term before. It basically means, obviously we've got, that doesn't look good as a hair tie, so we need to turn it inside out. So the little no sew zone we used, we've got a little way in there to turn things out. So I use a crochet hook because they're just brilliant. So what I do is get all the way in to the end, and then I turn it inside out, pop my little crochet hook in there, because what that helps to do, if you're very careful and don't poke through the fabric, which I have done many times, which is why I now use a crochet hook, you can get all, it kind of turns all the little corners out, and then just pull, and abracadabra, it's out like that. So again, I can put my crochet hook if I want to get in there and get those things, but I do kind of, you can twiddle with your fingers as well. So just do the other side. Again, just popping my finger all the way through and turning inside out. Just while I've still got it there, just poke my little corners out, and hey presto. So I actually didn't do the job that I detest the most. The job that I detest the most is ironing. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to iron because it's not that great like this. So I'm going to iron out all the seams, make it nice and flat. And then what I'll do is show you how we're going to close that hole that we've got, because we needed to turn it inside out. So iron this and then we'll be back. Ironing completed. We now have a nice, beautifully ironed, presented hair tie. Just got to do the finishing touches. We left that little gap for the bagging out. So there's a little hole here. I put a little clip in so I remember where it is. So there's the little hole, and how we're going to complete that is by doing some top stitching. All of my products come with the Pin Up Purita labelling. So I have a little label just here that has Pin Up Purita. Now you can purchase these printed. They're very expensive, and as I mentioned right at the top, costs for making products is always outdoes what I actually get them back for craft fairs. And you'll have seen the calculator totting things up, totting up my time as well, because don't forget I'm actually spending time doing these things. And if I was to pay myself minimum wage, which you'll see, that's the calculation I've done, minimum wage for April 2023. So yeah, I don't make a lot. So how I use, what I do is I buy printable fabric paper, and you can print directly onto it from a normal inkjet printer, and that saves me an awful lot. It also means I can keep playing with the designs, and I can also do lots of other labels as well and don't have to buy lots. But yeah, just thinking about all the other costs that I probably haven't put in the calculator actually. Things like electricity to run my sewing machine. As we know, energy costs keep going up and up. Things like store fees, mileage, parking fees. There's a lot. So although it might seem like there's not a lot spent on the actual product itself, it's everything that goes in and behind that as well. So enough rambling about that. I'm going to show you what I do with the finishing touches. So I've put red cotton onto my sewing machine because I like a nice contrasting colour, and I've just slotted that in there, if you can see. Just slotted it in around the halfway mark so that I can do a little just normal running stitch, top stitch to close this gap, so that we don't have any holes in the hair tie. So I'm not going to show you this, as you've seen what it looks like before. I will show you the end result though. Okay, so I do a much shorter seam as well to make sure I catch it, seam allowance. So I do the back stitches, and then the front stitches, and then the back stitches again. So I've clipped off the extra bits of fabric thread, and we now have a lovely little label with the red top stitching. Photos will be provided on the website. This is available, so I'll pop links in for that. It's £7.50. It's called Golden Perfect. It's been sold out for a while. I've been meaning and trying to get it done for a long time, but here it is now. So if you are a Wonder Woman fan, quite honestly, why wouldn't you be? She's an Amazon, yeah. So this is available on my website, pinuppurita.com. There'll be links somewhere, I'm sure. Also, if you want to know how I tie my hair ties, there'll be another very short video about that. There's lots of different ways to tie them, but I always have mine tied like this. This is how I prefer it. So I'm sure that video will be uploaded fairly shortly, if not at the same time as this one. And the Golden Perfect Wonder Woman hair tie is available now. Get yours before they all sell out. Thank you very much for joining me.